So welcome to your accounting mentor. On the episode today, we are going to be discussing the various things that we went through financial reporting, corporate reporting session 1, and have an understanding of those key issues that we discussed. So when it comes to the financial reporting, we mentioned the things that you need to understand, which we have covered in the previous episode. So the same thought process was here. Calling on students that you need to be present, be totally involved, and you need to discipline yourself. But then your toolkit to pass the examination and how our program is going to be will be, number one, our primary source document. Our primary source document reference questions will be solved will be our book on corporate reporting or financial reporting. And as we say always, if you have any other book, 99.9% of the time, the topics, the things are going to be the same. So you are not required to get our books. But certainly if you don't have any book, then you want to get our books on financial reporting or corporate reporting to help you along the way. The second thing is the key summary videos that we have exclusively in the Nhyira Premium mobile application. So in the mobile application, we have the key summary videos available for financial reporting, corporate reporting, focusing on all the areas in the syllabus. So these are 5, 8, 7-minute videos, 10 minutes in some cases, videos that specifically discuss some key areas. It could be an accounting standard, it could be ratios, the key principles that you must understand. So you want to leverage the key summary videos in the mobile application to help you to understand the principles, the concepts underlining the accounting standards and also the other topics. Then the third one is going to be the practice question course. Yes, because time will not allow us to solve as many questions as possible. So to help you go beyond the ordinary and have a better understanding of the scope of the application of the various principles in financial reporting, the practice question course is available that you can get access to. Now, this is open and you get access to lecture videos on questions solved from ACCA, ICAG, SEMA, and ICAG. Carefully selected questions on all of the topical areas in your syllabus that you must understand. That helps you so that after the understanding of the principles, you can now apply the principles to specific questions and increase your chances of understanding and working with speed and accuracy. Then certainly you can get the ICAG question bank as well. That is an additional material that will expose you to more questions. So this is your complete toolkit for a successful examination. The manuals, you make sure you get them. The key summary videos available in the mobile application. Leverage on that. Make sure that you get access to the practice question course as well, because that will expose you more to a lot of questions, and then expose yourself to get the ICAG question kit as well. So what is the scope of the corporate reporting syllabus, and what are the key issues here? Question 1, always for 20 marks. That is going to be on consolidated financial statement. Question 2 will be on the IFRS, the accounting standards. Question 3 will be on the single entity financial statement. This can either be statement of financial performance and position and changes in equity, or the cash flow statement. So you need to be mindful of that. Question 4 is going to be interpretation of financial statement, or what we refer to as ratio analysis. Then question 5 is going to be theory areas. So yes, we will have 20 marks questions in the exam or on written aspect theory issues. And these include ethics, governance, corporate conceptual framework, and some of those other issues, some IT issues and some current development issues that you must understand in the financial reporting class. So question 5, 20 marks theories, ethics, governance, conceptual framework, and some other theory issues, integrated reporting and those things. All of those are available that you must understand when it comes to financial reporting. So this is the scope of your financial reporting syllabus and then also the examination. But the key question we ask ourselves is, what will it really take? What is the break point for you to either pass the examination or fail the exam? That is your accounting standards. Because the accounting standards will be taking a center stage when it comes to financial reporting. Whether you are doing consolidation or you are doing evaluation of financial statements, there will be between 70 to 80% of the questions that you have to call on accounting standards to be able to answer them. So the accounting standards will be very important, and your ability to master the accounting standards will be crucial. That is why the key summary videos in the mobile application is a crucial resource that we have available that you must leverage to increase your chances of passing the examination. But then, how are the standards divided into? So, for the purpose of our discussion and how the exam is going to be, these are the key issues you must understand when it comes to the accounting standards. Non-negotiable standards. As a financial reporting student, whether I like it or not, you are going to be called on to apply principles from IAS 16, property, plant, and equipment, and IAS 12, income tax. It is a non-negotiable. These are non-negotiable standards. Whether I like it or not, they are waiting for you. The second one is I refer to as the three angels. These are highly examinable standards. Leases, IFRS 16. Revenue from contract with customers, IFRS 15. And then certainly the issue about financial instruments. Now, financial instruments, there are three different accounting standards when it comes to financial instruments. So we have IFRS 9, financial instrument measurement and recognition. We have IFRS 7, financial instrument disclosures. Then we have IAS 32, financial instrument presentation. So these standards, highly examinable areas, you must know about them. Then non-current asset standards. Again, whether I like it or not, these non-current assets accounting standards, you will be called on to provide something on them in the exam hall. So it is important you understand all of the non-current asset accounting standards, like IAS 36, impairment of assets, IAS 38, intangible assets, IFRS 5, non-current asset held for sale and discontinued operations, IAS 40, investment property, IAS 23, borrowing cost, IAS 20, government grant. These are non-current asset-related standards, and you must know about them because the examiner could call on you to provide something. Then we have the other standards, which will include IAS 2, inventories, IAS 41, agriculture, IAS 8, accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors. IAS 10, events after the reporting period. 37, provisions. 33, earnings per share. So, yes, it's a lot, I understand. But the accounting standards are interrelated. And when we begin the IFRS masterclass, you have more understanding of this because the standards are interconnected with each other. Okay? What it means then is that you have to put yourself in the position where you know that, oh, I am not just learning this standard and throwing it away. No, I'm going to require the principle in that standard when I'm solving a question that is primarily relating to another accounting standard. And we will get there later on. But you need to arm yourself and have an understanding on 90% upwards of all of these standards. That is why the key summary videos available in the mobile application is your best tool, is your best resources that you can leverage to help you to understand these principles. And then you can go to the practice question course to expose yourself to questions because we have multiple solved questions on each of these standards so you understand how to navigate each of these standards and also when they are merged into one single question, how you can answer such questions. Then we came to the conceptual framework for general purpose financial statement, technically talking about the financial statements that we need to prepare in the public sector. And I listed 3 or 4 of the financial statements already. We have the statement of profit or loss, statement of changes in equity, statement of financial position, then the cash flow statement, then the notes to the financial statement. Then we come to the underlying assumptions where we spoke about the going concern principle, and then the accrual. Then we brought in the concept of the substance over form principle because in leases, for instance, we are going to be applying the substance over form principle there. Then the qualitative characteristics of financial statement. What makes financial statement useful? And the fundamental qualitative characteristics, and enhancing qualitative characteristics. So the principle of relevance, faithful representation, comparability, verifiability, understandability, all these are the qualitative characteristics of financial statement. Then certainly the elements, okay, of the financial statement, the elements of the financial statement. Assets are resources controlled by the entity. Liabilities are present obligation as a result of past event. Expenses are increase in economic benefit of the entity. Income and revenue can be used interchangeably, but revenue is from the day-to-day running of the organization. The economic benefit we are getting from the day-to-day running of the organization, our core activities. And so when it comes to revenue recognition, that is in accordance with IFRS 15, revenue from contract with customers. Then we come to income. Income can be a decrease in expenses or other receipts we are getting from other financial assets as per the financial instrument guideline. So those are the elements in the financial statement. Then we spoke about the concept of measurement basis because, again, as financial reporting students, it is important we understand the measurement basis, the historical cost, the value in use, the issue in respect of net realizable value, the replacement cost. All of these measurement bases, we are going to expand on them later on as we go on in the discussion. So one of the measurement bases is the fair value, okay, which is the value at which an asset can be exchanged or a liability settled in an arm's length transaction between market participants. And so in determining the fair value, IFRS 13 takes a center stage where we go to level 1. There is an active market for what we are selling. Okay, so if there is an active market, we need to determine whether we have a principal market, that is the main market in which the product is being sold, or the market in which or the market with the highest volume of transactions, or the market with the highest volume of transactions. That's the principal market. If the principal market is not available, accessible, or we don't have information about it, then we need the most advantageous market. The most advantageous market is simply the market that gives us the highest net benefit. And that is going to be the selling price minus the cost of entry or transportation cost, and then transaction cost. That is the value of the net benefit. So the market that gives us the highest benefit or profit becomes the most advantageous market. Remember, the most advantageous market will only be used where we don't have the principal market. So that is level 1. Where there is no active market for the asset or the liability in question, then we will use the observable input, where we look at the fair value of similar or identical assets. Then we can use that to place the value on our assets. Then level 3 is the unobservable input, where we are going to look at information relating to the asset in question. So for instance, we want to determine the fair value of a building. Okay, we can say that if this building is remodeled, then the value would have been $10,000, but the remodeling cost will be $2,000. So in that case, the fair value of the building is then going to be the value after the remodeling minus the cost of the remodeling, and that would then become $8,000 in our example to help us to determine the fair value of an asset. So that is IFRS 13 fair value measurement. Then we came to IAS 8, accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors. So accounting policies are the basic principles, assumptions that are used in the preparation and presentation of financial statements. And so if there are any things that would change the presentation, the classification, the measurement of items will usually be regarded as a change in accounting policy. And when there is a change in accounting policy, we apply it retrospectively. What does that mean? It means to enhance comparability of the financial statement, we will go back and readjust the previous year's financial statement. Now, how far back can we go, or how far back should we go? That depends on the management judgment. Sometimes we can just go 1 year, other times 2 years. It depends on the discretion. It depends on management discretion. But we also emphasize that it is not all the time that retrospective application may apply. Sometimes we could do prospective application for a change in accounting policy, which means that we are not going to adjust the previous year's financial statement. Then changes in estimate, these are going to be issues about the provisions that we make in the book, changes in the or revision in the economic useful life of an asset. All that will be changes in accounting estimate. When that happens, we apply it prospectively. It means it will affect the current year financial statement and future financial statement. Then prior period errors are errors that are identified in the current year relating to previous financial statement. So usually prior period errors will be applied retrospectively. It means we are going to be adjusting for it in the opening balance of the retained earnings and other elements based on the nature of the transaction. And here also, we looked at some few questions from the ICA July 2025 financial reporting paper, question 2C, and we use that as a guinea pig. And the requirement for that question was to help us justify whether the transaction was a change in accounting policy or change in accounting estimates. So these were some of the things that we discussed. The key takeaway here will be understanding the various issues in the conceptual framework, especially when it comes to the elements in the financial statement, and then the measurement basis. Then IFRS 13, fair value measurement, and then IAS 8, accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates, and errors. So in the next session, we are going to be expanding the discussion on this. So if you find this video valuable and you have learned something, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and follow our pages online everywhere. But most importantly, if you want to get access to our full courses to study directly under my mentorship for the examination, then you can head on to our website, NhyiraPremium.com, to enroll in our courses, or you can send us a message on WhatsApp or call 050-114-9296 so that you can complete your enrollment and start studying under my mentorship to join our community so I can hold your hand, provide you with the blueprint that you need so you can go to the exam hall, write the exam with confidence, and most importantly, pass the examination. Thank you, and you can check the page for more videos, and I'll catch you on the next one.